Welcome to the Poisoner's Cabinet. I'm Sinead.
And I'm Nick.
And this is your weekly podcast exploring the lives of the great poisoners, macabre murders and captivating crimes from across the centuries, and creating curious cocktails inspired by the desert we tell. And it's episode 171!
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. It's into the 70s.
Into the 70s.
Into the 70s.
Delightful time.
It is a delightful time of blackouts and power cuts and stuff. It's hot
and
as well.
Excellent glam.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Or do you think we're going to have a resurgence of glam?
Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
Yes, just on this podcast, not in time. How are you, Nick?
Well, hot, as you just said, yes. It's. Oh, I thought the storm earlier was going to clear it, but no. Still as
I mean,
as ever.
all the stereotypes about the British complaining about the weather.
Oh, God, yeah. Constantly.
And English people.
Constantly.
It's true.
Stereotypes are there for a reason. They're all true.
It's either too hot, it's too cold, it's not wet enough, it's too wet. There was nothing like looking out the window when there's a thunderstorm and going, well, we needed it. We needed it.
We did, because we've been pissing it around for the past 6 months. We really didn't.
No, I know. Good. Well, any poisonings this week?
I don't know.
You don't know? You're too hot. You're too hot.
I don't think so.
You've had a nice, relaxing weekend.
It's been all right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no.
I wasn't around to bother you.
Well, yeah, it was absolutely. So even better.
Oh, bitch.
It's been delightfully relaxing.
Yes, I was at a festival. It was lovely.
Yeah.
Pretty relaxing, actually.
Pretty relaxing.
Chilled out listening to some music.
See, what a lovely time we have away from each other.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yes, and also appreciate what we really have. But it's always a delight to see your face.
Oh, absolutely. It's delightful.
Well, we do have a shout out this week.
We do indeed. From one of our listeners over in Canada, because there are some terrifying things happening all over the world, especially with the massive forest fires and everything that are happening in Canada and in lots of places as well, unfortunately.
Many
so
places.
Huge shout out to all the firefighters and the emergency workers and everyone who is manning that and evacuating people. I can't imagine how terrifying it is. We're quite, as much as we bitch about the weather, we're quite lucky over here.
It puts it into perspective
it
somewhat,
really does,
doesn't it?
Absolutely.
You know what? We've got too much rain.
Yes. Oh, look, it's a bit damp. Oh, look, it's a bit warm. But we've never been on fire.
Fine. Soon it will come.
So, yes. So God bless everyone who is out there and hope you're well and keeping safe.
Thank you so much to all of our emergency services who are out there on the front lines, wherever you are in the world as well. If you see anyone tackling the fires, go over and give them a hug. I think they've got bigger things to worry about.
Probably not when they're trying to evacuate a school load full of children. Or
there
with a hose of 50 billion gallons a second and you're there trying to hug them and they're going, fuck off.
A stranger trying to hug you. No, let this happen.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll change that to donate. Donate to a good cause.
Yes, absolutely.
Don't try and molest people while they're doing very important work.
Yeah.
I can't stress that enough.
Leave them alone.
Good thoughts. I'm sending positive thoughts your way. Thank you to anyone who is on the front line right now. We love you. Well, speaking of people we love and people who are sticky in the hot weather, I think it is time for us to thank our delicious Patreon subscribers.
Oh, they're especially sticky, I've heard.
Oh, they are very sticky. Sticky but sweet.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. To Shana Border.
To Kyla.
To Laura Ansell.
To Rachel Howard.
And to the very sticky Vicky Spiegel.
Oh,
thank you.
Vicky is sticky.
Thank you very much. You're all bloody marvellous.
I bet you Vicky is the sort of person whose her name has been rhymed with sticky.
Probably.
And she just gotten over it.
Just got over and we've just re-triggered some hidden trauma.
You know, it's good sticky. That's what you are, Vicky. Embrace it because we love you. We'd love to be stuck to you.
Again, getting weird.
Not helping.
Not really not, no.
I
really
should not negotiate any situation.
No, I think it's probably best you keep away from just people in general.
That's what you've been trying to do for a very
probably
long time.
safer for everyone concerned.
Just stay on the airwaves. It's fine. We had fun-ish on Patreon this week because it got
fun
dark very
wouldn't be
quickly.
the best word to use for it.
Yeah, that was dark.
It was a harsh, violent case.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Went to Ramsgate, your old stomping ground.
Went to Ramsgate, the lovely home of murderers.
Yeah, it just
apparently
proved that absolute bastards come from Ramsgate.
Yay!
You crawled out of there somehow. You escaped their clutches. Yeah, that was a dark one, but every now and then it's got to get dark.
Well, murder is not always jolly.
It's not.
Not always. It's not always fun.
Well, the thing is, though, we've made it fun a lot.
You can't
occasionally.
always do that.
I think we've had about 2 or 3 where we've gone, oh, that wasn't fun on the main episode. Patreon, it gets weird. And also that did open a debate. A few people were asking about more modern cases. cases and stuff that's been in the news lately. But over on Patreon, we do like to delve into some interesting subjects. If anyone has thoughts on modern or old cases, you can always let us know. Because Patreon is but $5 a month. There is a higher tier if you want a goodie package from us. Do check it out if you're interested in more Poisonous Cabinet goodness. Well, Nick, are you ready?
God, yes, okay.
Are you always astounded that I can
Didn't get a chance to get in there.
Were you planning
I was going to say
something?
something desperately witty and meaningful and profound.
Were you?
And it's like, no, not allowed.
Well, no, go ahead now.
No,
please.
it's good. The moment is gone.
Oh, has it?
The moment is gone.
Oh, dear.
No.
No.
Absolutely.
God, you know what? People will lie awake at night wondering
The world is worse off, I feel.
That was what was going to keep those firefighters going.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now just the world's just going to burn. And it's your fault.
I think it's your fault for not getting in there quick enough. You need to be more assertive with your witticisms that are going to save the world. Well, Nick, are you ready?
No, go on then.
No, to drink cocktails and talk about poison?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to drink poison and talk about cocktails.
I'm going for a poison. I know what's coming. So.
Do you? I think we should go with the first one. Shall we?
Okay.
Shall we? Hooray, hooray, hooray. It is my episode this week, but we can't possibly have a story without a cocktail in hand. As you know, dear listeners, every week we choose a secret ingredient that is inspired by the tale that we tell, and it will flavour our cocktail of the week. My stories are my pick, and this week's secret ingredient is jelly.
Jelly.
Jellies, lovely, lovely, lovely jellies.
Lovely jelly.
Any jelly.
Lovely jelly. Like
Jelly.
jelly. So I almost cheated
Okay.
and went with the sort of American version of jelly.
What jam?
Jam. But then I thought the Sinead would have thrown things
I
at
would
me.
have thrown things at
So
you. To be
I
honest,
thought,
I thought that's what you were going to do.
So
I
I
thought you were going
I
to go...
almost went down that route. Could do that. And I thought, oh no. So I didn't do that.
No, it's a thing. It's
a
not
thing.
even tenuous. It's jelly.
It goes jelly.
It's
So
jelly.
it's jelly. So yeah, we're having some jelly and ice cream.
Oh, nice.
I love our jelly and ice cream. Haven't had jelly and ice cream since I was a kid. I want jelly and ice cream.
Tell you something that's going to blow your mind. Never had it. What's so great about it?
Have you tried? How have you lived?
Have I lived?
Have you lived?
Well,
without jelly and
apparently.
ice cream. Well,
Well,
no, but I think you find you haven't.
No, we just had venison and foie gras. That was all we had in the palace that I lived in,
Yeah,
apparently.
also, it's us people who were scrabbling around in the dirt.
What?
We
In the wilds of Ramsgate.
in the wild Ramsgate,
Fighting off murderers.
fighting off the murderers. that one brief respite from fighting off the murderers in Ramsgate was when the Jelly Man came.
The jelly man sounds terrifying.
With his,
Beware the jelly man, my friends, when the moon is fat. He's just like the char catcher. Jelly children, come in. And that was just another horror you had to face.
and yeah, absolutely. And I was right out there.
Well, I lived in the countryside of nothing but wheat and absinthe. It was a strange time.
Songbirds used to bring your meals to you of an evening.
Oh yeah, definitely. They used to
Absolutely.
dress me every morning.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
How it works with the posh folk in the countryside.
Belfast working class family did good. They're like, we shall give you everything, children. Here's a bird to dress you. Well, I'd rather just get dressed myself. No. Apparently, this is how they do it in the films. But anyway, with I'm gonna die. With
Yes.
jelly as your ingredient, what have you come up with?
Well,
Okay,
okay.
I'm so excited. Okay,
We're having
okay,
a margarita.
okay. What? You haven't.
In tiny, tiny jelly form.
Oh my god, you've done it! I didn't think you'd do jello shots. No! Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. But also, maybe I shouldn't be, because God knows what this is. I thought you were going to do something weird, like, oh, I got jelly.
Well, there are also like jelly bean cocktails and things like that. And I thought, no, fuck it. We're going to do it properly.
No more time wasted. I think it is time for us to jiggle into the Poisonous Cabinet kitchen and shake up a storm. So we'll see you in a minute.
We'll see you in a bit.
And we're back.
No.
Oh, well, Nick. Nick, there's something on a plate.
Yeah. This did not go entirely as planned.
Well, what did you think was going to happen?
I'm hoping I hope they would hold their form more. More gelatin would have been required.
I think they are holding their form. So we have a plate in front of us, a jiggling gelatinous plate of Jello shots with margarita flavouring.
Yeah.
Now, but I think they are usually served in like little shot glasses to
I
help them.
was hoping they would be more rigid.
You were thinking like a sophisticated dessert that you would
was
sort of
hoping
eat
there'd
with
be more sort of-
with a nice
yeah.
coolie.
I just
They're
didn't.
pretty rigid. It's not. They're melting now because we've taken them out. But I thought they retain their integrity. Well, we're going to eat them now.
Yeah.
This is possibly one of the most interesting things.
Have a thing.
Okay, right.
Look at that. No, that's it's all wobbly.
Jiggling the plate.
It's all
It is.
jiggly.
It is a bit like frog spawn.
No, it's not a good
Okay.
look. No, they have not. No, I'm disappointed.
No, it's good. It's good. I'm happy. I've got a Jello shot. Look,
Go for it.
Whoa, hello. Hello. Okay, what they lack in shape, they deliver in booze. Oh, that's strong, mate. Jesus Christ.
It's margarita.
It's a margarita. It's a margarita.
Margarita Jello.
Perfectly
Yeah.
delicious.
Perfectly delicious.
Perfectly delicious. Now we're just going to spoon these into our faces. I tried to put them in a shot glass and Nick went, no, you mustn't.
Yeah, the same. No, so that's that. There.
Okay, so what did you do? What did
It's
you do?
a disappointing margarita and a disappointing finish. This is bad.
You just put it in your mouth and it turns into margarita.
Yeah, but no.
Just fun.
But not a good margarita though.
It's not a bad. I've had worse. I'm just eating this with a spoon. It's like I'm a granny. It's like this is
It's good for your teeth, dear, isn't it? It's good for your
It's a
teeth.
flash forward to us in the old folks' home. Everyone else is having low sugar jelly because they're all diabetic, and we're fucking knocking back margaritas.
Well, this was the first attempt.
Right, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to...
Put them back in the fridge and chuck it back in the fridge, then see it might firm up.
So we have one big jelly.
One big jelly blob.
So when we have the drinks break, we just take a slice
Exactly.
off. You explain what you did. What you did.
Terrible,
What you
terrible,
did.
terrible things.
While I put this
I'm
in the fridge
sorry.
and also eat more of these. Okay.
Right. No, it's probably wise that you don't. So I made margaritas. So basically, it is the quantities that you would usually have for margaritas. Because these weren't being shaken or stirred or anything, what I did is I added in sufficient water to account for the dilution you would get with shaking. So generally, if you're going to shake something, you're going to add around 25 to 35% water. Of the volume of your cocktail, you're going to add that 25 to 30% more water by shaking. So what I did is I measured out my margaritas. There's actually enough for 3 margaritas in that blob of horror that just came out there. Before I added the water into your tequila and your Cointreau and your lime juice and your sugar, I mixed in gelatin sheets with the water, which is in theory where you're supposed to get your setting agent from. I used 2 gelatin sheets for 60 ml of water. It was not enough. Should have used more. So dissolve that in. Once that was dissolved into the water, added the water into the booze, gave that all a bit of a shake to combine it all, and then put it into little individual, and then put it in the fridge. And it went horribly wrong. A couple more sheets of gelatin to get a firmer set, I would have been happy.
Possibly another sheet of gelatin or 2 would have made it very firm.
Yeah, that's good. No,
But then
I
you don't
wanted
make
that.
jelly a lot, so you don't know.
No, exactly. And if you do, I buy it in packets.
However, I think it's less of a disaster than you do.
Okay.
I think it's fun. It's silly. There was a jelly bite to it.
There was a
if
different
it
jelly
was just
form.
liquid, if it was just liquid, that would be awful. There was a jelly form.
Jelly formed.
And as a sophisticated, refined palate having woman, but an occasional basic white bitch, yeah, I was like, oh no, it's just jelly shots. It's fine. Taste of margarita. Way.
Yeah. I was going to do a whole variety of things, but then I realised all the booze is here, and of course I needed to make these yesterday so they could set.
Yeah.
And things. So I had limited ingredients where I am now. I thought casino number 1s or an aviation.
Oh my god.
But the violet's here. Then I thought, espresso martini. Espresso martini in jello.
Oh, I don't know if that would work with coffee though.
I think that could be quite interesting.
Oh, maybe.
I
So clearly we need to experiment. How much gelatin have you got left over?
I've got loads. I bought tons.
Okay, so we just do that this weekend.
Yeah. So,
We're going to have a games day, aren't we, on Sunday? Let's just make a shitload of gelatin stuff.
So I've got loads left.
Or a nice terrine.
Yeah, and I thought, Negroni shots. No, that's not going to I thought that's going to go.
Work. Something with
that's
a bit
not
of
gonna go
sugar
well.
in it.
With a bit of sweetness. I did think, I could make some last word ones. I thought, should I throw them at me because I've got chartreuse in?
Yeah.
So
you
stick with the
got quite
margarita.
creative in your head, didn't you?
In my head, it was all I was going places. I really was. I was going places.
I like them. I think it's great fun, and it's definitely something everyone can make at home. Make the margarita jello shots, and it's a bit better than just vodka.
Well, exactly. I thought,
like a raspberry vodka.
Some fruit juice and some vodka.
Yeah.
That's boring. No, make a margarita.
Okay, it's in the fridge, and then we can have slices of it later. I've topped up your Negroni.
Hurrah.
With our jelly shots, sort of jiggling away, trying to firm up. We're juggling them as we go down the street. Would you like a story, Nick?
Definitely I would.
Because we're going back, Nick. Going back in time.
To the invention of jelly.
The great jelly man.
In 1653.
Oh, you're not far off. You're not far off from where we're going. Jelly may have been invented then. Yeah, the jelly man stalked the streets. I imagine him 20 foot tall. He was just throwing jelly at everyone. It was like he's a strangely non-effective villain.
Yes, it's sort of like the English equivalent of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, isn't it?
This is jelly blob.
So it's a bit sort of like, he's like, oh no, he threw some jelly at me.
It must be jelly because jam don't shake. No, we're not going to the days of the jelly man. But we are going back. Yeah. So you were right sort of era.
Oh, okay.
Back to the Jacobean era.
Oh.
Now, we love the Victorian era.
Yeah.
We love us the Tudors. You favour the Renaissance.
It's a favourite.
Oh, you're quite good at it.
There's some nice foppish ways that I quite approve of.
But the Jacobean era is fantastic. The reign of the witch-fearing, plot-fearing, debt-laden monarch, James I of England, 6th of Scotland. And we have a scandalous story today of sex, political intrigue, witches.
Well, I say he did love a witch.
He didn't love a witch, famously.
Oh, no, this is true. He loved to torture a witch and write about them.
He liked
and
screaming about
witches, yeah.
But also poison and jelly.
How have I not come across this story? It sounds right up my street.
Very important sources to shout out for this week. The wonderful Mr. Tim Cloke. Our darling historian friend who has done several episodes on Patreon with us. We'll be doing another one in the future. Texted him going, do you know about this? And then he goes, here's some background information on all sorts of shit. And I'm like, yes, thank you, mate. Also shout out, there's a lot of resources on this story. I'm going to shout out to Ciaran Conliffe as well, who writes for Headstuff and has written many, many articles over the years. But the bulk of the story takes place between 1607 and 1616. So we have a mixture of great detail about this time period, and then bits that go, something happened, no information on this whatsoever.
But it really definitely did happen.
It definitely did happen. Let's make some shit up. And then a lot of side stories, so a lot of side missions we're going to go on as well, which I love in a story. Love an aside, love a historic aside. So today we are telling the story of Frances Howard Carr and the murder of Thomas Overbury.
Oh, I do know this story.
Oh, do you though?
Well, I know of it. It's one of the ones I have come across in my researchings.
It's one that's been mentioned to us from the beginning of the Poisonous Cabinet. And I think I looked at it a couple of times and went, well, there's not a lot of information on there.
Yeah.
But then when you sort of tug at the thread of the tapestry, it all comes tumbling down and a lot of stuff falls out from behind the tapestry. Nice. And then you go, oh, nice. So if you like your Tudor/Stuart history, because we're into the Stuarts now.
Okay.
It's a fun time. We've talked about King James, the first of England, 6th of Scotland, in previous episodes, of course. As you've referenced, Nick, we talked about him in the Pendle Witches trial that we covered. James I, not a fan of the witch.
Not a fan of a witch, no.
No, not a fan of the witchy persuasion. Wrote demonology, got very, very frightened about it. But he did other things, as well as that.
Well, yeah, not much. But yeah.
He was a king. Well, he sort of just sat there going, oh, no, everyone calm down. Historic context, James I was crowned King of Scotland after his mother, Mary Queen of Scots, abdicated. And he was crowned when he was 13 months old. Mm-hmm. But he didn't accept his duties until he was 14 months old.
Quite right.
No, not really, obviously. He was about 17 when he officially took over. I think he was 13 when he said, you can be king. And he went, I don't want to.
I don't want to be king.
And then they went, oh, all right. All the politicians went, oh, shit, we'll have to do it. Crowned King of England in 1603 following the death of Elizabeth I. Mm-hmm. And the whole mass of political shenanigans that went on, going, who shall succeed this childless queen, who did very well. I think it's largely thanks to Lizzie's chief minister, Robert Cecil, Earl of Salisbury, very famous, Robert Cecil. James was able to ascend. He was writing to him and he was sort of pushing him forward and going, let's have James on the throne. The line of succession after Elizabeth I, fascinating period. Oh, really interesting.
It's a bit mad.
It's just a bit mad. But once he was crowned, I love this, that James, now the first of England, moved to England, promised to return to Scotland every 3 years. Don't you worry, Scotland. I will be back. Didn't. Went back once. in his entire reign, and his was a long reign, described it as when he came to England, he said it was like swapping a stone couch for a feather bed.
Oh, that's going to hurt.
That is a kick in the teeth. But still trying to keep the Scottish fine. Not a Catholic, despite his mother had feelings on that. And there's a lot of...
Yes, a lot of feelings.
Yes. If you know the period of history, fine. People who are trying to work out Catholic, Protestants, which king was... It doesn't make sense on paper, so just go with it. But he's in power. He's doing his best to keep peace. He just doesn't want any wars. James I. People say he was ineffectual. Others say he was more learned and he was a bit of a thinker.
He was a bit of a... Yes, I think he portrayed himself as a bit of a scholarly sort of...
He did.
King, rather than a warfare-y...
He did a lot to try and stop that sort of things happen, and he was avoiding a lot of plots. There were a lot of plots, not just the big famous one. There were a couple of others as well, which kind of look on paper and you go, oh gee, how many plots are there against me? I've just got here. Translating Bibles, obviously, burning people who he thought made his boat wobble a bit. But he had a lovely council around him to pretty much run things, and amongst his council was Thomas Howard, Earl of Suffolk, one of the many Earls of Suffolk, the latest in a long line of the Howard family. And the Howard family are very famous for being one of those families of very high-reaching political dreams and moving all the pieces behind the scenes. So full context about the Howards, and again, thanks to lovely, lovely Tim, who provided some great background detail here as well. He in his own words, he said, the Howards excelled in two things: social climbing and carrying on being Catholic. Generations of this noble family were committed to attaining the highest possible positions in court above all else, and they would experience peaks and troughs in popularity as they went, and these are the highest of the peaks and the lowest of the lows. Still, there are descendants today.
Oh, absolutely.
They would claim to be descendants of Patreon favourite Hereward the Wake.
Nice.
Yes, they claim that. Not true.
Not true.
Not true. Tim said the words bollocks, quite frankly. Yorkists during the War of the Roses. All this hard work paid off later in the Tudor period, and they were significant landowners and influential during the reign of Henry VIII. Now, the most famous associations with the Howard family...
There's one of them there.
Well, there's two. They were related to Anne Boleyn. They had two attempts at trying to get to the crown, pushing people in front of them. So Anne Boleyn, okay, here's where the detail comes in, just go with me here. Daughter of Elizabeth Howard, so one of the daughters of the Howard family, a cousin of later Catherine Howard. Anne Boleyn, great, Howards are just leaning over the Boleyn's shoulders like, yeah, okay, we're here. That didn't end well.
No, not really.
It did not end well. But then came Catherine Howard, Henry's fifth wife. Oh, brilliant. And the daughter of one of the men, Edward Howard. Brilliant. We know how that turned out.
That didn't end up too well either.
Another beheading. Very interesting about the wives, and I'd love to know people's feedback of if you ever want us to delve into the wives of Henry VIII, because, oh, well, why not? Catherine, do we think Catherine is a sympathetic character, or as she was portrayed in history? Because she was written as stupid, as a relentless flirt, an adulterer, had had sex with everyone she'd ever met. Actually, had a horrible childhood, a horrible life. She was most likely, in the nicest possible way, molested by a lot of people and then forced into a marriage with a man who just was leaking pus from his leg. Delightful. And was just very bitter and twisted and angry, that is Henry VIII, and then ends up having a head cut off.
No, it's not a best life, really.
It's not your best life, is it? Life. The family are like, okay, you do the... Oh, shit, she died. I will mention right now that in the notes that Tim sent, he made special reference to the musical Six, for which we must applaud him.
Absolutely.
Whatever happened to the Howard women, the Howard men did not much care. Girls were there to further the male family members' standing.
Make the marriages and pump out the babies.
Really interesting to look into the Howard women, but none more so than the one we're going to come on to, because she was a little bit different, perhaps. So by the 1600s, the Howard family had a rocky time for a while. Okay, two of their lot had been beheaded by a king. Henry VIII, in the end of his life, famously completely paranoid, bitter, tyrannical, in a lot of pain, and he took it out on everyone else, executed Catherine's cousin, another of the Howards, for having a treasonous coat of arms.
Oh, nice.
Coat of arms did not please the king.
Fair enough.
I don't know what was on it.
Henry's head.
Or his arse, maybe. That's it. Another relative was executed for trying to put Mary Queen of Scots on the throne. Ooh, don't do that.
Well, yeah, that's probably going to be frowned upon.
Yeah, well, it worked after a while. Yeah. The family regained some wealth and favour when another of the Howards fought during the Spanish Armada, and he would go on to marry a rich heiress and produce 14 children. 14. She did her job.
Did her duty.
Yeah. And one of those children was Frances. By the reign of James I, the Howards are sort of keeping a low profile. They're still Catholic, they just don't talk about it. They're there in court, it is tenuous, and now Frances is born. Frances Howard was born in around 1590, and she is going to be another pawn in the Game of Thrones from the start. Age 14, she is introduced to 13-year-old Robert Devereux, the 3rd Earl of Essex, Walsingham's grandson. It's a good match. Introduced more as Francis, this is the man who's going to be your husband, go throw on a wedding gown.
Yep.
Before we all start going, ew, child, bride and husband, they're not completely stupid at this time. Not a good idea for them to consummate the marriage.
No, indeed.
Yeah. It's not uncommon that they get married and then they go, right, separate them immediately. No shagging, because if she falls pregnant, there's a very high risk.
Not going to end well.
Of infant and mother mortality. He is sent off, the husband, Robert Devereux, sent off to Europe on a tour of Europe for 2 years. So she's like, okay, bye. I'm married now. Fine. She's now sent to court. She can be a lady in waiting. She can wait in court. She is a nice, respectable, beautiful young girl blossoming into womanhood while her husband is away. And indeed, she does blossom into a beautiful woman. There's a very famous portrait of her painted around 1615. I will use this for the episode cover, but I'm going to ask you to Google Frances Carr now without reading any of the words, but see if you can see the painting. And
Okay, yes, with her very large breasts.
You've honed in on one thing.
I did, didn't I? So,
okay, what's your impression of that painting?
it's delightful.
Yeah, I've never seen
It's
a
quite dark,
painting that both conveys
quite exposed,
buxom sensuality, like a lot of breasts, without understanding how breasts work.
Yeah, they're quite separate.
They're quite massively lift and separate.
Yeah, it's very much separated.
The 80s style. Also, where are the nipples?
No, none of that.
Because it's a low cut, separate top.
Well, I imagine the nipple must be enclosed by frock.
Okay, Nick, look at the breasts. There's no way the nipples are that low. Her nipples are tucked under her breast in that picture. So, but sexy, isn't it?
Well, actually, you're saying that because I found this on Pinterest.
Oh, you found it on Pinterest?
Which has given me another image.
Is it just a pair of tits? What
Um,
are you looking at now, Nick?
Oh no, Lady Frances Carr. But obviously later in life.
Right.
So now you need to come and look at this particular
Okay,
image.
I will. It's nipples!
So you were concerned about the lack of nipples.
Oh my god, no, that's not...
Yes, I think this is her later in life.
So the second painting is... The dress literally just has nipples over the top of the line.
It just gives an interesting
It's
look.
an interesting interpretation. Well, back to the first one.
Yes.
Anyone listening now is just Googling frantically going, this is my Friday
terrifying.
night.
Yeah.
Also, but the look on her face in the original one, it's a really interesting look of cunning, it's provocative. It's quite compelling, the look on her face as well. She's very much portrayed as this sort of, yes, very, very sexual. And also fabulous rough.
An excellent rough.
Frances is attracting the eyes of many men at court, and she starts thinking for herself, the nerve. And these guys, way better than my shitty husband. When her husband does return from his travels, he's riddled with a case of smallpox.
Nice.
Frances wants absolutely nothing to do with him.
Quite right.
I never asked to marry you. You're gross.
You're full of smallpox.
Devereux tries to make a go of it with Frances. Like, we need to consummate our marriage. She's like, no, get the hell away from me. What would later be said is that Devereux could not perform with Frances. Could not perform with his wife. Now, he would counter that he could perform with any other lover, but Frances, no, he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. She reviled him. She miscalled him, terming him a cow and a coward and a beast.
It's not going to help you, is it?
It's not the kind of pillow talk you want.
No, not really. It's not going to encourage your husband.
Can you really blame Frances?
No,
she's like, get away from me. She talks publicly about how she's disgusted by him. She insults him, locks herself in a room when he tries to instigate anything. Devereux counters this by insisting, of course, it's only her that causes his so-called impotence that she's been talking about in court. He can't even get it up. To the point where he will talk to his friends, and if anyone brings it up, he lifts his shirt, drops his pants, and shows them his erection.
Nice. Okay.
And says, look, I can.
There it is.
I can. I can only assume his friends are saying, have you had an erection the entire time we've been talking? You've just whipped that out. What is this between us?
What's going on?
What's
here?
going on between us right
what's going
now?
on here?
I mean, let's see where it leads.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Devereaux was just walking around with his cock out in court, and many reports have this. It's just him going, look, it's hard.
Look, it works.
It works, I tell you. It's not romantic.
Not really, no.
The marriage, if you can call it that, has obviously soured, and now Frances has laid her eyes on the much tastier treat, Robert Carr. Robert Carr was from landed but not noble family, so good enough to come to court, not on high on the list. Born in England, served as a page in Scotland to an earl, and he is destined for the court of James I. So he's going to be welcomed to the court. He is a man who really is, in so many words, described as pretty but stupid.
Nice.
Completely thick. Hot. Hot
but stupid.
Not a good thought in his head. But everyone loves him. He's charming.
Well,
he's
helps.
lovely. He's pretty.
Pretty. Just keep your mouth shut.
And very much so. That's why he gets to court, if the writings are to be believed, is that everyone wanted to be around him. But not everyone wanted to be around his friend, Thomas Overbury. His good friend, Thomas Overbury, they met in Scotland. Thomas is a few years older than Robert. He wants to have a position in court. Very intelligent, very shrewd man. Not particularly charming. People just, they say he rubs people up the wrong way. They don't love him. But Robert and him get on very well. Robert looks up to him and he thinks, okay, right, Robert is my key into court. I'm going to mentor him. I'm going to be his advisor, and I'm going to make sure that he gets into court and I'll be right there. Perfect. In 1606, Carr and Overbury are sort of on the edges of King James I court. Carr takes part in a jousting tournament, and as luck would have it, he has a break in the case. He breaks his leg.
Okay.
While jousting, the king witnesses this, and I think tradition is that if you are injured, the king will come along and go, "Good show, well done, well done. You're not dead.
Well done for not dying."
So King James goes in to meet Robert Carr, lying there with his broken leg, and he looks at Robert, and he likes him.
I love you.
Oh my God. Oh my God, Robert. Oh wow, I should have won something nice. He really, really, really takes a shine to Robert. Oh yes, he will take care of him personally. He will take care of him. He is going to sit by his bedside and read him Latin.
Oh, very nice.
Every day, which does cure a broken leg.
Definitely.
Exactly what he needs. Once he's all better, King James gives Robert a knighthood and all of Walter Raleigh's old estates.
Nice.
Taking them off Walter Raleigh's family, by the way. He has a son and a wife.
They don't need them.
Walter Raleigh's dead by now, but they're
exactly.
like, what the fuck, man? He's like, no, he's pretty.
He's much prettier. What have you done lately?
Has he discovered any countries? Has he brought me back any more potatoes?
What's the sun done? Come on.
Yeah, fuck Raleigh. So Carr becomes one of the king's favourites. And this is where we have a little side mission for a moment. Let's talk about dear old James and his favourites.
He had a few.
He did have a few.
Yeah.
He did have a few. Famous for it.
Generally very attractive young men.
It is widely thought of now that James was a fan of both the ladies and the men.
Yeah.
Not written about a lot in history.
It's unsurprising.
Unsurprising. The fact that it is written about and not ever mentioned. Rumours, and there were very prominent writers who referenced his love for his favourites without wanting to go down that route.
Explicitly going down that route.
Yeah, and it is inferred that he was probably pan or he was bi.
He was having a grand old time.
Absolutely.
And you would if you're fucking king.
Why not?
Why the hell not? Everybody wants to be in my pants. Because they know I'm going to give them loads of shit.
In the Stuart period, I would be in my pants. Your pants are probably disgusting, but still, we're disgusting too. So let's go for it.
Let's go for it.
Politician John Oglander, he wrote when he observed King James, he never yet saw any fond husband make so much or so great dalliance over his beautiful spouse as I have seen King James over his favourites. Particularly later on the Duke of Buckingham, famously George Villiers, whom the king would, recalled by Edward Peyton, tumble and kiss as a mistress.
Fun times.
In the early 2000s, Apethorpe Place, which was one of the residents of the king, there were renovations being carried out. They found a secret passage between the king's chamber and Villiers.
Nice.
Secret passage for sex! It's also probably a good time to paint a picture of King James. Thanks to Tim, again, I have a lovely description of the king from nobleman Sir Anthony Weldon. It's quite... it paints a picture, so take it literally.
Okay.
He was of middle stature, more corpulent through his clothes than his body. yet fat enough.
Okay.
His clothes being ever large and easy, the doublets quilted for stiletto proof. His breeches in great pleats and full stuffed.
Nice.
He was naturally of a timorous disposition, which was the reason for his quilted doublets, his eyes large, ever rolling after any stranger who came into his presence, insomuch as for shame have left the room out of being out of countenance. So you've got him absolutely padded up.
Well, I mean, the people who come before him have not done particularly well in this job. So one would be paranoid, I feel.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are trying to kill me. So I want 15 layers of doublet.
There's not been an assassination?
Well, he's had a few attempts. They tried to blow him up.
True.
So that's
but not with a punai.
But still, you think, well, they tried that. Why wouldn't they come after me with a?
Oh, I guess actually,
with a knife?
yeah. So you've kind of got that period of time.
So I think he's probably got enough to be concerned about, that he's not overly well loved if people have tried to blow up a whole building to get him.
Well, the padding isn't going to help, mate.
Well, not that, no. But
and also his eyes are wheeling round at anyone who comes into the room. They go, oh, fuck, let's go. Also, his beard was very thin. His tongue was too large for his mouth. And it made him drink very uncomely, as if eating his drink.
Oh, nice. Ugh.
Which came out of the cup at each side of his mouth. So like a Great Dane kind of lapping away.
I've got a bigger glass maybe in order.
His skin was as soft as a taffeta sarsenet.
Oh.
Which felt so because he never washed his hands, only rubbed his fingers at the end slightly with the wet end of a napkin. His legs very weak. That he was not able to stand at 7 years of age. This weakness made him ever leaning on other men's shoulders. Did it?
Did it really? Oh no, I've got to lean on you. Oh.
I'm going to drape my arms around you and sort of grind against your leg. His walk was ever circular. His fingers in that walk ever fiddling about his codpiece.
Okay.
So he's just walking around in a circle.
Playing with himself.
Leaning on whoever's there.
You're not portraying a great look.
It's not a great look.
It's not a brilliant
it's like
look.
The regal look, King James.
Yeah.
He was very temperate in his exercises and in his diet, not intemperate in his drinking. He was very constant in all things, his favourites excepted, in which he loved change. He ever desired to prefer men in great places, that when he turned them out again, they should have no friend to bandy with them. And besides, they were so hated in being raised from a mean state to overtop all men, that everyone beheld a petty recreation to have them often turned out. So, yeah, very flighty.
A bit of a poison chalice, really, isn't it, being a king's favourite? So, well, you're great while you're there, but when you're no longer flavour of the month and no one wants to talk to you.
There's a line, I think, is in The Talented Mr. Ripley. When you're in the sun, it's wonderful, but when you're out of it, it's very, very cold. That's probably giving more credit there, actually, to King James, who was walking around in a circle, lapping at his drink like a dog and eyeing up everyone in there, fiddling with himself. But there you go. There's the king.
But
there's the king.
He's still the fucking king.
He's still the fucking king. He's fine. And he has his new favourite, Robert Carr, who's just stupidly following after him, like, oh, this is great, lovely, I've got titles now. And Thomas Overy is there, like his little, like Jabba's mate on his shoulder, there in the shadows, advising him how to advise the king, because the king would take advice from his advisors. But on the flip side, we have the Howards. Back to the Howards. The Howard family are still trying to climb up the ranks yet again. They have their sights set on glory, and that is in the shape of the cunning form of Frances Carr. In 1613, she and Robert Carr have struck up quite a friendship.
How nice.
She has spied him. He pretty. And he looks at her and goes, oh, she got boobs that don't go in the right direction. No nipples. I love that. That's my one thing. Their friendship develops, and now Frances is demanding an annulment from her husband. She says she has made every effort to consummate the marriage. He was not able to perform, and she remains a virgin. It's unlikely that she did ever shag her husband, but may well have had a few flings around court.
Yeah.
Now, her family helped push the annulment through. It takes a long time. Conveniently enough, Robert Cecil, the great advisor to kings and queens, has just died, so there's a nice Howard-shaped hole in the court where they go, okay, let's push this through. Let's get this annulment through. Wouldn't it be great if Frances was married to one of the king's favourites? Thomas Overy does not like this one bit.
I can imagine.
He hates Frances. does not want her anywhere near Robert Carr.
No, it's his plaything.
Exactly. Is it because he's like, no, I've worked really hard to be his best mate, and the Howards are going to come. The Howards are going to come in and take my position.
Steal this.
Was there more to their relationship? Maybe. I'll leave that on the table. Maybe. He's not going to stand a chance in court if the Howards are in play, though.
No.
What's worse, the king likes her. It's not that he likes her. He doesn't have any objection to them shagging. The king has his favourites. He's like, oh, no, go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
crack on.
You crack on. I'm shagging everyone.
Yeah, exactly. I'm thinking, well, everyone around me.
I'm having a great time. Oh, help yourself. In a classic negotiating tactic. And it is classic. Overbury writes a poem about what an ideal wife should be.
It is classic tactic.
And the poem reads as thus. Then may I trust her body with her mind, and thereupon secure, need never know the pangs of jealousy. And love doth find more pain to doubt her false than know her so, for patience is of evils that are known, the certain reminder, but doubt hath none.
Okay.
Yeah. I fear this is wasted on Carr. And most of us.
Yeah, I managed to get that written down. To actually decipher that one.
It took me 3 goes to work that out, and even then it makes no sense. It's sort of going, she's a slut. I don't like her. In a roundabout way. He is not getting the subtlety of it all. Carl's just going, oh, that's nice. There's flowers over there. He's like, no, you bastard. But Frances hears it. And she's smarter than Robert Carr, and she doesn't like it one bit. She's pretty pissed off with Overbury, and this will not do. And I think that's time for a drink.
Oh, yes.
Time for more jelly.
More jelly.
Well, Nick, we have our drinks and our jelly.
You have some jelly.
We have a plate of jelly. It's a bit firmer than it was before.
Yeah, slightly more amorphous blob than it was.
It is a bit, yeah. It's like Slimer. So I'm going to go in again. It's bits of lime. It's weird. I thought it was a bit of your skin.
No.
Okay, that's better. That's actually not bad, actually. Now. No, it was not bad from the start, but I can eat that. Have some.
You enjoying that one?
Yeah, have some jelly.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit more firm. What do you think?
Well, it probably helps because it's fresh out of the fridge, so it's colder.
Yeah, it's nice and cold.
Whereas before it had warmed slightly. Have some
We'll
more.
pass the jelly around.
Have some more jelly.
Delicious jelly. Well, anyway, we have our jelly. We have our drinks. We're back in the court of James I.
Yes.
Thomas Overbury has been writing poems about Frances Carr. Not the best tactic, possibly. She's now pissed off. Robert Carr is just looking at some tapestry in the background. Going,
Okay.
Frances wants her annulment. The family are rushing this through. The king is reluctant, even though he's not opposed to Carr and Frances having a relationship. He's reluctant for an annulment because, okay, this could piss off a lot of people.
Yeah, it also opens a precedent really for other people coming forward.
Yeah.
And I've got stuff to do.
But she complies with a chastity check.
Okay.
Yeah, she says, no, I will prove that I'm a virgin. I will prove I'm a virgin. 10 matrons, 2 midwives.
Yeah.
Have a good old look.
Have a good old rummage.
Have a good old rummage down there.
Let's see what they...
Confirms she is indeed a virgin.
Okay.
It's just very helpful that she wore a very heavy veil through all of that. And was probably of a completely different shape and size. Not a substitute at all. Not anyone at all. No modesty. No, don't look at my face. Like, wow. Let's just say she's a virgin.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Around this time, interestingly enough, Frances had a woman called Cunning Mary arrested.
Ooh, Cunning Mary.
Cunning Mary. Now, what do we think her profession is?
She's gonna be a witch.
Is she some sort of faith healer?
Some sort of witch. I'm going for witch.
Yes, gives palm readings.
Yep.
Does some nice medicine-y bits and pieces in the background. Has her arrested for stealing one of her rings. How weird. How strange. Why would she let this woman into her house? No, but she has. She has stolen my ring. Cunning Mary, on her arrest, counters that, no, Frances had hired me. She had hired me and given me the ring as collateral to provide poison to her. And other witchy shenanigans. She doesn't use those words, but witchcraft is spread around.
Other services.
To get rid of her husband. Now, Cunning Mary said she'd refused to do such a thing.
Doesn't do
and
such
now
things.
Frances has had her arrested.
How very convenient.
And of course, the courts are trial, it's barely even in court. They just go, no, we don't believe Cunning Mary. You go to jail. We'll kill you and hang you and just push you about a bit. Frances is completely blameless. It was said at the time that Cunning Mary used this tactic a lot, that she would provide special treatments and ointments to ladies, whether they were cosmetics, whether they were things for their, unwanted pregnancies, and also maybe a little bit of Julia Tavana in the background. And if anyone didn't pay up, she'd say, okay, fine, I'm going to accuse you of procuring my services and bribing me. But it didn't work that time. But then this starts the rumours that Frances may have had unsavoury dealings.
Yes, she knows some dodgy characters.
The annulment was slow, but it eventually happened. Overbury is trying everything in his power in the background to stop it happening. He is smart, but he's not charismatic like Carr. He needs Carr. He absolutely needs it. And the Howards just go, we need to get him out of the way.
Yeah, you need to get him out of the way.
And they do it in quite a cunning way. First of all, they manipulate Overbury in insulting the Queen. Now, we don't know what it is, unfortunately. Make something up if you want to. You have very poor ankles. Maybe. Says something, it gets back to the Queen enough that she is furious. Not enough to eject him from court, but she says, I will not have him present.
Not to stand for this, absolutely.
Yeah, that should be good enough, it's okay, he'll be pushed out of favour, but no, the Howards know one step further. They manage to get the ear of the king through Frances, through Robert, and they suggest that Thomas Overbury, intelligent, articulate man, should be made ambassador for Russia.
Oh, that's far away.
Very far away.
Nice.
Okay, the king agrees. Yeah, Thomas doesn't want to leave Carr's side. If he accepts it, he's in Russia. If he declines, he's insulted the king.
Yeah, indeed. You can't get out of that one.
He refuses, sent to the Tower.
Yeah.
Brilliant work by the Howards.
That's a cunning bit of politicking. That
they win. It's win-win. Win-win for them. Indeed, he turns down the position. The king sends him to the Tower.
Yeah, it was not an invitation. This was you are going to Russia.
So he's imprisoned in the Tower. And he's in there for 5 months. And this is where the details drop off completely. Because he dies. He dies in the Tower.
Oh no, how did that happen?
Outside, the annulment has been granted. Frances and Robert Carr are married on Boxing Day, 1630. Well, 18 months pass. Everything's fine. Everything's lovely. It's great. The Howard Carrs, they're now Earl and Countess of Somerset. Fantastic. King lights them. They're in court. Peachy, peachy, peachy.
Jolly old time.
Summer of 1615. The king suddenly finds a new favourite. Georges Villiers. Yes, the Duke of Buckingham. A rift somehow occurs between him and Carr. We don't know what it was. We don't know why he fell out of favour, but it happens. And it's around this time that rumours start to abound that Thomas Overbury, 18 months earlier, plus, may have died from unnatural causes. Suddenly, the rumour mill goes into overdrive.
Yeah, well, now he's not the favourite anymore. He must have rivals. He must have people wanting to get him out of the way.
Yeah, but particularly focused on Frances. In a dingy bedroom that year, somewhere in Yorkshire, an apothecary's assistant lies dying on his bed. And his last breath he uses to confess that he helped Frances Howard Carr procure poisons. She paid him £20 to find poison to kill Thomas Overbury. His family is standing there going, you've nothing else to say to us at all? No. Okay, fine.
I love my children. I love my wife. No, none of that.
This obscure bit of political shit. Well, there we are. You were a bastard. Rumours swirl even further. The king has no choice but to instigate an investigation. Appoints his Attorney General at the time, Francis Bacon. Bacon.
Love bacon.
Love bacon. Love bacon. I just have to say bacon every time I hear Francis Bacon. I know he's one of the great minds of all time. But still,
yeah, there is that.
Yeah, there is that, but also bacon.
Also bacon.
Good for bacon. They uncover a letter from the governor of the prison in the Tower of London from a man whose name bothers me every time I read it. Gervais Helwys. Some people say Elwys or Helwys, or I'm kind of going to go with Elwys. Probably. He's dead. You know what? He's not kind of come after me, but sorry if I've gotten that wrong to historians. But he claimed, this governor of the jail, that Thomas Overbury had been subjected to repeated poisonings in his final days. He has this letter because it contains a confession from the man's keeper, Richard Weston, who had been bribed by Frances Howard Carr to deliver poison to him. And repeatedly he received sweets, tarts, and jelly.
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 Can I have fucking sweets and tarts? I like
in
sweet tarts.
every single one of the accounts, it's jellies.
It's jelly.
Jelly. Now, they may have been sweet jellies or something like that, but a little jelly. Like these vodka jellies,
Vodka-
margarita
margarita
jellies. He was like, margarita jellies for you. Could I have fruit? No, there's a lot of scurvy in here. Well, the margarita will help. This calls for another spoonful of margarita. It's not aged well, I'm not going to lie.
It really, really hasn't.
Fuck it. It's good to all of these tarts and jellies and sweets, what were they laced with?
I'm assuming some sort of arsenic.
Arsenic! Arsenic alarm! Arsenic alarm! Arsenic alarm! Yes, white powder. White powder dripped on there. Not just arsenic, though. The arsenic is the least of his problems.
Oh, okay.
Really. Because, again, the reports around this time become very compressed of, oh yeah, this person wrote a letter. He was killed by a load of jellies and tarts that had arsenic in it. But then the governor of the jail was trying to sort of claw back some respectability, going, I tried to stop it. I tried to stop it.
Absolutely.
I tried to stop the food. But when that happened, Thomas Overbury was allegedly killed by an enema laced with mercury chloride.
Okay. Ooh, a mercury enema. That's weighty.
I'm sure you have questions as to why he accepted the enema.
I would imagine he'd probably not given much choice.
And why an enema?
Well, it's
efficient.
It's gonna cure you.
Yeah.
That
was less suspicious than the jellies.
Yeah. Perhaps he had weekly medical enemas. Yeah, every week.
It's just there's no explanation behind this. Was this a treatment?
There must have been some of the medical shenanigans going on there.
Maybe, because I don't know. But here's your enema filled with poison.
Here's your weekly enema.
Here's your weekly enema.
This time it's for the mercury.
Please do chime in, people, if you know why they all got enemas. But that's how he died. Died. After being loaded up with arsenic, wasn't doing it fast enough. Those in the tower did not report these poisonings for fear of being targeted themselves. By a very powerful family.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Frances and Robert Carr were arrested for murder in October 1615. So were the governor, the guard who looked after him. They are, during the trial, convicted and executed.
Yeah.
Barely even a trial. You said this, okay, this happened. Okay, hanged. What? No, they were absolutely killed. Frances, on arrest, confesses. She pleads guilty, and this is probably a ploy to get clemency from the king. Because if you plead guilty at the time, the king may look favourably on you. Robert Carr refuses to plead guilty, stubbornly so, to the point where the king writes to him and says, plead guilty, I will give you clemency. And he says no.
Okay.
Overbury was his friend.
Yeah, I did not do this.
Also, why is the king telling him plead guilty? Is he going to reveal something? Maybe that the king knew, maybe the queen knew, who was very insulted by Overbury. That's what lots of people think about. In her confession, Frances reveals that a woman named Anne Turner supplied her with various poisons to kill Overbury. Anne was Frances's former servant and friend. And this, again, is a little side mission of just, who is this woman and why have you never spoken about her? A widow of a doctor and a prominent businesswoman. Prominent businesswoman in that she was the owner of a couple of brothels, had a wonderful sideline in supplying saffron-coloured ruffs and collars.
Oh, nice.
Yes, very much the fashion at the time.
Absolutely, no. I like a bit of yellow.
Reportedly the illegitimate daughter of astrologer and occultist Simon Foran. Very interesting man. If you look up stuff, it's like, there's too much on him that I could include on this. I was going to include some of his stuff. I was like, there's no time. Anne Turner, she had met with Frances. She said, I know how to supply you with poison. I'm going to introduce you to this apothecary.
I thought it was the chap in Yorkshire.
Yeah, the apothecary. He was the assistant of the apothecary.
Right.
There's a chain, my friend. Together. Anne was brought to court, and the authorities had found pornographic and heretical material in her home. The pornographic material, which they read out in detail in court. Everyone enjoyed this. Certain pictures of a man and a woman in copulation. Also, Miss Turner had pictures, namely one in wax, very sumptuously apparelled in silks and satins. Also, one other sitting in form of a naked woman, spreading and laying forth her hair in a looking glass.
Ooh, scandalous.
She also had parchments on which were written the names of the Holy Trinity and a little figure, and the words written corpus. Another parchment was fastened with a little piece of the skin of a man. So Anne decided to confess to her part in the murder rather than be tried as a heretic and a witch.
Yeah.
Hanging versus burny death.
Yeah, better way to go.
and she got her wish. She was hanged at Tyburn. She admitted before she was hanged that she had gotten the poisons for Frances from an apothecary named James Franklin. He was found executed immediately as well. When she was sentenced, the Chief Justice, a man named Cloke, referred to her as a whore, a bawd, a sorcerer, a witch, a papist, a felon, and a murderer.
It's quite a combination of things.
And he ordered her to be hanged in the fashionable starched ruffles she had invented.
Nice.
Hanged in these glorious yellow ruffles and collars. As I said, there are theories that Frances may have been painted as the orchestrator of this entire plot because she was a strong-willed woman. She knew what she wanted, and she was going to be the orchestrator of her own fate. It's possible that the Queen wanted Overbury out of the way. It's possible that lots of nobles wanted rid of him.
Yeah.
And helped on this journey. Frances and Robert Carr were both found guilty of murder. Frances guilty of plotting his death, Robert for apparently covering up his wife's involvement and bribing people. You know who was sitting on the jury of Frances's trial?
Tell me.
Her first husband.
Oh.
Sentenced her to death.
Yeah, he's not going to be happy.
He was just sitting there in the jury like, oh, good.
Oh, good.
Now, Frances was sentenced to death. She was pregnant at the time of her trial. She gave birth to a daughter, Anne, in the Tower in December 1615. But in April 1616, the king commuted their sentence from death to imprisonment. And 6 years later, Frances was released from the Tower. 8 years later, Robert was released. The pair, their reputation in absolute tatters. Frances painted as a witch and a whore and a bawd and all manner of things. They lived the rest of their lives in hiding and relative obscurity. Frances would die 10 years later at the age of 42. She was buried at Audley House, the seat of the Howard family in Essex. And that is the story of Frances Howard Carr, Thomas Overbury, and the court of James I.
Yes.
And maybe it will open up some more stories to certain plots that happened.
There's a lot going on there.
But there you go. It's a crazy, mad story of a lot.
A lot going on there. Trying to keep the thread of who's done what to whom.
I know. It's not easy to do because you try and cut some of it out and then you go, no, this is too good. It's too good.
You can't cut that out because it makes no sense otherwise.
You had all of James I. You had everything that France was doing, everything that Howard's doing and all their history. And then Anne Turner turns up throwing pornography around the place and going, hello, I know where to get all the drugs. Well, what do you think?
I can do all the good stuff. I mean, it's a fantastic period of history. Yeah, it's courtly skullduggery of just people wanting people out of the way, and then, the king's favourite this week, can't touch him. And then 2 months later, king's not bothered anymore. Right!
Yeah. We can shove people out
I've
of the way.
always hated that man, so let's get him.
It is amazing in the Elizabethan, Jacobean, Tudor, Stuart, that people sort of say, oh, no, they weren't all savages, and it wasn't completely lawless, because, of course, it wasn't a lawless society, but everyone was happy to kill each other.
Everyone was happy to, do whatever they could to get ahead. And
oh, absolutely.
Yeah. It's not quite Game of Thrones, but it's not far off.
It's not far off. There were fires, there were explosions, there were murders, there were all sorts of plots happening to just get them out of the way and get their rivals out of the way. That are just kind of like, that just happened.
It just happened, The house is burned down with all 400 children in it. And it's like, it just happened.
It just happened.
Yeah.
I love this period of history because there's enough written about it, and also you can have fun with it as well.
Absolutely.
No one was a nice person.
No, really not. Everyone had their own agenda and their own schemes and their own, the reasons for doing dreadful things to people.
Women didn't get a great run, let's face it.
No, absolutely.
Pretty conniving, and they got away with a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
possibly more so than in other periods, I think
argue. The ones who managed to claw their way up into power.
Yeah,
obviously,
and you could claw your way up.
Yeah, you could, absolutely. But to do that, you had to be ruthless, utterly ruthless, and centered on what you want.
Yeah.
And no matter who gets in your way. Yeah. And then you could, they absolutely, women could reach the top, but they left a big old pile of bodies behind them.
It's like, interesting. Yeah. And they were sought after for their views, and they were advising people. Yeah, it's just a great period of time. James I is also mental.
He's a brilliant character in his own right.
So interesting.
Absolutely. His obsession with witchcraft and all this sort of stuff is fascinating in his own, is brilliant.
As we've talked about before, like he just went to Denmark and then discovered there were witches and just went, there are witches, there are witches. Okay, fuck everyone. And like people going, what the hell? I just was trying to mend your leg.
Brilliant time.
And maybe James I, tiny bit gay.
I'm thinking probably a little bit gay.
Just a lot.
Just
yes.
Quite a lot gay.
Everyone was fine with it. It was
Well,
fine.
absolutely. And also, he's the king. No
He's
one's
the king.
going to sit there and go, you really shouldn't be doing that, mate.
Well, unless he falls out of favour. That's the thing.
So-
is that later on, is that as soon as you kind of, if you fall out of favour, then it's like that will be brought up against you. Not a lot, though.
Not really.
Not a lot, considering how many monarchs there were that did
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. I think all that sort of stuff was generally pretty... It's just like, this is what happens. Until you get to the Victorians and they're like...
We had Queen Victoria went, no!
None of-
Everyone must wash daily.
None of that.
And no makeup.
But before that, you're like, shag who you like.
Shag who you like. It's fine.
Have a grand old time. Might cut your head off, but we'll have a grand old time.
You'll have lived well.
Exactly.
You'll have lived well. What do you think, people? What do you think of the story of Frances Howard Carr? What do you think of this period of history, of the Howards, of King James I, 6th of Scotland, of the various players in this, of the Tower, and how you would be able to poison someone with an enema and not make it look weird? Tell us what you think. Jump on the comments of this episode wherever you listen to it, and also on social media. Tell us your thoughts, your theories, your musings. And while you do so, you know what? Get some gelatin. Ignore Nick's laughter.
Yeah.
I'm with him. I've eaten the whole plate.
You have.
And I'm regretting it now. So,
Yeah,
well, I'm
as-
not regretting it now because it's the end of the episode.
Well, in the morning.
But it's kicked in. Oh, in the morning's fine. All I'm going to do is edit this. Guys, if this sounded weird, you know why. Because I ate that jelly like it was normal jelly.
Yeah.
I
It wasn't
have
normal
now
jelly.
had a lot of margaritas. So this is your sign. Make the Jello shots. Do it. Relive your youth if that's what you had in your
But
younger years.
make fancy. Don't just not
Oh,
just
make
like
fancy.
make fancy Jello shots. Absolutely. So, yep.
Yeah.
So get your favourite cocktail. Chuck some gelatin in there. See what happens.
Whenever you listen to this, make Jello shots. Enjoy them. But if you're listening to this in real time this weekend, if you can, get some Jello shots or make some Jello shots. Send us pictures. We'd love to know what you're doing because it's a tasty snack.
It's a tasty snack.
It's a tasty snack. It's carbs probably.
It's the one thing I
Sugar.
think it isn't.
It's sugar, isn't it?
No, really.
Was it not? Great. Why are we eating more of these? This is now my new diet. Send us pictures of whatever cocktails you are enjoying wherever you are in the world, and send us more suggestions of stories that we can be covering. If you haven't already, please consider joining us on Patreon for more episodes every single week, as well as a lot of bonus content, including some book chat coming up this weekend and videos. Thanks for listening, guys. We have been the people inside the Poisoner's Cabinet. We will see you next week, and remember, your loved ones are trying to kill you.